Cool. All right. I think we're up and running. That's pretty fun. Hey, everybody. My name is Rebecca Glant, and I'm to have my own Ask an Atheist Day. If you're unaware, or if you're not in the United States, today is National Atheist Day. Because, of course, we need a day for ourselves when there are so many religious holidays out there. So, what I thought I'd do, even though technically the Ask an Atheist Day is out in September, I would do a question and answer session because there are a lot of people out there who don't know much about atheism. And I did ask for some of my followers to submit any topics or questions they might want to discuss. And I only got one, unfortunately, so far. But um, to get into it, I would have to give a little bit of background information. So the question was asked about agnosticism versus atheism. And I guess traditionally, I want to say probably about pre-1980s, about atheism was mainly seen as people who believed there are no gods. And there's an important distinction because after that, it kind of enveloped the agnosticism camp, in that you are also an atheist if you do not believe in any gods. And I know that sounds a little bit pedantic, but it's important, just like I wouldn't call a Lutheran a Baptist. Because to actively believe there are no gods is an assertion. You have to pretty much give your proof on why no gods exist. Whereas the the main tenet of atheism, well, actually the only one, is to lack belief in a god. And I don't want to say it's about the probably early to mid 80s, because that's generally when I noticed it in a lot of the media that I was watching. Um, Now that obviously could be a lot different, because I know even a lot of the people that I've come into contact with still think that atheism is believing there are no gods. And the important distinction there is that agnosticism and atheism are actually not mutually exclusive. So previously, agnostic was you're not sure whether or not there's a God, and that's actually still true, um, because knowledge and belief are not the same thing. So if I am agnostic, I do not know something, and specifically when it comes to gods, um, you do not know whether or not a God exists. Yeah. Um, so an agnostic atheist, you do not believe in any gods, and you do not know whether they exist. So that means you can have a Gnostic atheist. I know no gods exist, at the same time that they lack belief in a god. And you can also have Gnostic and agnostic theists. So I believe in a god even though I don't know for sure whether or not it exists. And I know there's a god. So that would be the Gnostic theist. And I think that pretty much covers the difference. I know a lot of people that I come in contact with on a daily basis try to force me to say that agnosticism and atheism are different. And I guess if you want to define it that way, that's fine, just as long as you understand what the other person is saying when you talk to them. Um, so for those people who try to force me into agnosticism versus atheism, they're still operating usually on I think there's one philosophical dictionary that defines atheism as I do not believe in any gods. Sorry, I believe no gods exist, and um, it's a little bit disingenuous because language is flexible. It can mean a lot of different things. For instance, if we talk about scientific theories versus the common usage of theory, I have a theory my car isn't working because I'm low on brake fluid, versus the theory of gravity. Um, Same word, two different contexts. So yes, a lot of people are going to try to push us into a thanks a bunch. Yeah, I really don't believe in a god. Um, they're going to try to push you in a box again. Just set the terms of what you're talking about before you go into discussions. Um, One thing I can say, obviously this wasn't asked for, but it's a topic that often comes up, is stereotypes of atheists, and a lot of them come with a huge stigma. For instance, all atheists I just came up on this the other day. Oh, all atheists think theists are gullible or stupid or lying or they're delusional, and that's not true. The only thing that unites all theists, all atheists, is that we lack belief in a god. Um, I personally am not gonna attack a person solely for one belief. So it's gonna be if you tell me I believe X, I'm not gonna assign a character trait to your entire being. That's just ridiculous. I'm not that shallow. And for the most part, most atheists that I come in contact with in whatever sphere, they don't follow that rule either. Yes, there are gonna be loud atheists out there who, for one reason or another, um, are still in that angry atheist phase. Maybe they just deconverted and they're feeling really hurt from all the crap they went through when they were a believer, and now that they've come to a different conclusion, um, there's a lot of regret that they're kinda lashing out with, which I fully understand because there's a lot of crap that religion can do to a person in their life. Um, at the same time, I criticize beliefs, I don't criticize the person until I get to know you a lot better. I do come into contact with theists who are ridiculous. All they do is they put up quotes, they don't respond to anybody, they don't engage honestly with people who respond to their posts with honest questions and good points. Um, so I think that pretty much covers that one. Uh, another another stigma or stereotype that I get a lot is that all atheists. Uh, oh gosh, I just had this. I was even running over some stuff on the way here. Um, Atheists want to not believe in a god, or they just want to sin, and that's why they're an atheist? Not really. Not the grand majority of atheists that I've met. For one, we don't believe in sin, where we define sin as the transgression against a god. If we don't believe a god exists, there's no way to offend it. Yeah, people do bad stuff, but doing something bad and sin are not equivalent. Again, I guess in a certain scope, you could see sin as um, something bad, but in the majority of contexts in which I discuss it, sin is specifically transgressing against a particular god. And because this is America, generally it is the Abrahamic God Yahweh. Um, no, we don't want to sin. We just want to live our lives without judgment for completely stupid stuff. Like if we want to have a beer, we're not going to be judged. If we want to be in a poly relationship, no, we don't want to get judged just because an old book tells us to. I guess I'm really not making the case there. It should be that, uh, I guess I'm getting into more secular humanism and that we're all just people, and we necessarily shouldn't be restricting things until we display harm. Whereas, um, theistic morality or sin, as it were, is specifically rules that a god set down that may not make sense. For instance, not eating shellfish or, um, keeping keeping the Sabbath holy. Like, if we don't believe in a god, working on a Sunday isn't gonna matter. Um, so no, most atheists do not wanna sin, and and they don't hate a god. I think that kinda goes into another realm. And I'm gonna be picking in the background because 'cause I'm trying to practice without thinking stuff here. So I do a lot of, atheist activism online, and I can get, it can get pretty heated sometimes. The important part for me to remember is that as we are visible to other people, whether online or in our communities, um, atheism doesn't get a lot of screen time normally, and we're able in a safe space relatively to answer questions, to ask questions that maybe somebody behind the scenes thinking that they don't get to ask because of uh, fear of torture or ostracization in their own communities, and they'll lose the stuff that they need to live, like shelter and food and community, honestly. So um, even though I may not be able to change the person's mind who I'm speaking with, somebody is learning. Maybe it's me because I understand a different way to explain something, or I find another tactic that doesn't come off as confrontational. Um, and most of these groups that I'm discussing in, it's 30,000 plus people from all over the world. Excuse me. With tons of different viewpoints on whatever topic you could have. And those that don't, that can't respond out of whatever fear, get to see what I'm doing. And there have been a lot of calls into the Atheist Experience and a bunch of other podcasts that I listen to, um, that say they've been a long time listener and they've just called in or called in. Called in. I know verb tenses. Um, so if they do that on that type of media, there's no saying that it's not going to happen on a random internet forum. And that's the main reason that I do it, also to help debunk atheist stereotypes, like I was alluding or elaborating on in the beginning of this. Yeah, right. Sorry, can't let this go undone. Which is, they're probably not even listening right now. Um, gosh. Thankfully, I did not have a bad upbringing as far as religion went. We were Lutheran, which is probably one of the tamest versions of Christianity out there, especially ELCA, which is as opposed to Missouri Synod, which is a little bit more conservative. We went to church on Sundays. I was in youth group for a bit when I was in high school. I didn't go out to any what they called work camps, where we go to impoverished areas and do a bunch of service projects. But um, I treated the classes and the knowledge of the Bible pretty much just like another subject in school. So I was really good at memorization. I could understand text. I liked reading. I do like stories, but I really didn't believe in it all that strongly. Then college, I got in contact with a lot of different people from all over the world, and got to see their versions of their beliefs or lack of belief. And I started to question a lot. Is this actually the thing that's true? So I became a deist, where I pretty much, or an omnist, as I've heard people say. It's just I believe there's a bit of truth in every religion. And then I had this weird nondescript idea of this force called fate that was in everybody and controlled everything to some extent. Um, and if you died and your consciousness, your soul inside realized you were part of that, then you would rejoin fate. And then if you didn't realize that bigger whole, then you would be essentially a free floating energy, an agent. And that was how religions had entered hell. So, kind of out there. And no, I wasn't even on drugs to do that. Um, but that's just what I came up with. And at some point, I think I did go back to Christianity because my sister tried to convince me that the random crying that came up was God trying to talk to me. And that's the unfortunate part about a lot of Christianity, is it it often targets people when they're vulnerable. Because I was feeling terrible in those times, and I wanted something as an explanation. So when my sister offered it, I thought, oh my gosh, maybe she's right. Then after after college, I kinda went back to deism a little bit. It really didn't affect my life at all. I just like the flowery language for it. And I think now, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I finally realized that I was an atheist because I didn't have any good evidence for um, that concept of fate that I had come up with. And it was in great part to listening to the Atheist Experience. Um, a lot of the old shows when they were on public access TV, they had terrible service that was not consistent. Um, so they would be talking, and a phone and someone would call on the phone, and you'd have to lean closer to hear it, and then all of a sudden they were shouting in your ear. I think since coming out as an atheist, I've been a lot more into the activism because I realize um, how deeply religion runs in our country, and there's no reason people can need religion to be a good person because shitty people are going to be shitty no matter what they believe in. So why not make it? Why not believe in, or rather, why not dedicate yourself to something that we can prove and we have evidence for? Hence, secular humanism. I'm really glad I'm not singing today because the cheese in the porter would probably not be a good on my voice. Um, Another atheist stereotype is that we follow religion. Nope, we follow science like a religion. Which, yes, if you want to say that, you can be right in some regards. The biggest difference is that when science is wrong, we have evidence to show it. It's not just another interpretation of an old book. Um, Never has religion proven science wrong. It's been better science. Whether we improve the tools that we're using or we understand a different way of conceptualizing something we saw before, um, it's not coming in with preconceived notions that haven't been proven with reliable evidence. Because there's even atheists that do believe in supernatural things such as crystals, Reiki, astrology, energy healing, uh, stuff like that. And that doesn't disqualify them from being an atheist. It's if you've heard of a fallacy, which is pretty much an incorrect way of thinking, the no true Scotsman fallacy is applying an adjective or a quality to something that does not fit with the definition of what you're doing. So even though a lot of atheists would not like to associate with the atheists who believe in all that stuff for the supernatural, um, we're not dogmatic enough to say, no, they're not true atheists because there's only one thing that you need to be an atheist. That's probably going to be the most repeated word on this question and answer section, which is mostly heavy on the answers, light on the questions.